Hi guys, welcome to For the Fans. I'm excited to be here tonight for our new show, The Fans Have Spoken. I'm joined with Dennie, Robbie, and Kevin. We think this cast is so fantastic that we wanted to give each one of them their moment to shine. So every week, we're going to be coming back here to talk about the people that were booted off the island. How are you guys? Before we get started though, be sure to like and subscribe to our channel. How are you guys feeling? Survivor's back.
Oh my God, man! Yeah,
yes,
freaking insane.
I'm so long time, been a very long time. Winners at War was great, but like having new cast and like fresh faces, this is exciting.
You started off with Winners at War was great, and I feel like we're gonna go off topic already if that's what we're gonna start with.
No.
But
we don't have to get into that. But
okay.
I do feel like we all loved it. It's been so long though. I feel like everyone on the cast, including Jeff just looks pumped and excited to be there. They actually, this season, can show the filming crew and the little behind-the-scenes things because everyone's loving their job, I think. I think everyone that's there is pumped and excited and living their best life.
well, like Jeff said, man, move the 4, keep the 1. We're starting over, baby. Let's go.
Yeah.
I loved it. I loved how he walked out like that. I mean, you were just hitting the nail on the head right there. We walked out, breaking the fourth wall, pretty much pulling a Deadpool a little bit, and talking directly to us, welcoming us back, telling us, how much he missed us, and being the cold-hearted human I am, I definitely didn't cry at all. I definitely didn't shed any tears. I wasn't alone in my basement watching this show, weeping like a little baby. But
of course you weren't.
Not at all.
Yeah,
The editing, though, I feel like they've stepped it up on editing, too, and I felt like way more emotionally invested. I said this on the last show. My wife looked at me and was like, Survivor's about to get me cry in a club at the premiere party on day one. That's rare. I've never wanted to shed a tear on day one, but the editing was on point. It got us invested and involved in all the characters. What were you saying, Dennie? I'm sorry I cut you off.
Oh, I don't know what I was saying, but I'll say now I loved that they included backstories
Yes.
on the castaways. It just gives us more of a sense of who they are. I mean, these are human beings playing this game. So it's nice to see where they come from and a little bit of their background.
Dude, how they were cutting in stuff from home, like when you saw
Yes.
Frank's boy Brad cut his hand and talking about how he's been working with his dad, and then it was just cool seeing things that were outside of the game but showed like why they're here and seeing why they're here.
Yeah, I was screaming when Tiffany had her moment where, I think it was her spouse that was in the room, and she just started screaming that, she's going to Fiji, she's going. And he's like, are you serious? And she's like, yeah, I'm going. And I'm like, I know everybody in this room right now would be having that exact same reaction if that call ever came, even if it was like she had, was it 24 hours notice, something like that.
I wouldn't. I don't want to sleep outside, but that's just
no. Come on.
I do want that experience. So when that played out, I did picture myself in her shoes, and I did get emotional at that point.
That's
so
cool.
Yeah, if any one of us got cast, maybe Kevin doesn't want to go, but I think after we were jumping around the living room crying with our family, I think we'd be on a Zoom call crying with each other.
Yeah, that is incredibly accurate.
Yeah, so the twists, the changes, before we dive into the people that just got booted, how do you feel about the changes? Did they sit well with you? We got a lot of new things. We knew that it was going to be shorter, but we also have a new dice, the summit meeting. What are your thoughts?
Well, I was very happy to see Jeff putting in the challenges like I always knew he did. You know what I'm saying? Jeff went out there and said, I'm going to place this right here in this tree. And it was great seeing Tiffany a little later around that particular tree and not finding the thing in that moment. That was great.
Yeah, I was just holding my breath because she was right there.
Yes. And I was like, we saw Jeff put that thing in there. Like he hides all the idols and stuff. I just assume Jeff hides everything. I don't know, but
I don't know. I have a feeling that's probably the first one he hid since season 1.
I
I don't know. I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong about that, but I love seeing it. I love seeing it because that's part of the magic of the show is we typically don't get to see a lot of that stuff in the background. We don't get to see the camera folks and all the audio folks and the producers and the directors and all the people. We got to hear them. Calling out their signals, saying speeding, which means the audio is rolling and all that stuff right off the bat. And we don't get to see that. And it's all left to our imagination, and it's kind of nice to pull back the Oz's curtain a little bit and get to see some of that. Whether it's a little bit of theatrics with Jeff actually placing the immunity idol in the log, but it worked out perfectly because later on we see was it Tiffany was walking, being like, I feel like I'm walking right past it, and well,
you are.
Yeah.
We saw Jeff at the beginning place it there.
Yeah, there it is.
I liked seeing the crew because we're filming a TV show, right? Let's stop pretending like these people are creating a society because they're not, right? They're playing a game for 26 days, and we're filming it live as a television show. Us seeing that wide shot of the crew when saying we're happy that they're all back, and I didn't realize. I mean, I assumed a ton of people worked on the show, but getting to see so many people at the marooning, and then having, like you said, hearing them on the boats and getting ready for the challenges, that was so cool.
What did you guys think when Jeff's like, give me back that flint that you guys just won? Like, out of all the twists, that's the one I'm most excited for to see play out, because what happens when it starts downpouring rain? If you are not maintaining that fire and making sure it's stoked before you leave, you're going to be cold at night. But you don't have any rice to cook, so also at the same time, it's like, I'm so excited to see that play out. We talked about the shot in the dark, but how do you guys see that playing out? Because that's one Kylie mentioned in the last episode that we just did. He didn't really give us a lot of information besides the percentage, and David actually gave us the true percentage, which was like 16.7 odds.
You mean Voce? Voce?
Yeah.
Dr. Death.
And you know what's funny, right? When a guy throws a number out like that, but then he still rounds, right? Like it's going to be 16.6 repeating if he wants to get all specific, right? But he's like, I don't know, 16.7. Yeah, okay, no. Well, now you're just rounding the next decimal point to a 7.
Yeah.
Like, okay, smart guy. Like, I don't know. I feel like that would have annoyed me more. Like, if you're going to correct him properly, don't correct him. Maybe I'm even wrong. I'm assuming it's at 0.66, and, make fun of me in the comments. Go ahead. But, I think that's kind of a goofy move to make. But losing the flint, I mean, you touched on that, Frank. That makes it a lot harder as the guys that are out there, or the people that are out there doing the physical challenge, lugging the water back and forth. If they do all that work and it takes them 4 hours, they burn all those calories, they have no food, and then the next day or a day and a half later, they have to do it again somehow to try to earn it back or win a challenge, it's going to be a lot hard to convince these tribe mates to be doing that. And you might start regretting getting rid of people who you think are physical threats because, if you're losing your flint every day and you need somebody to lug all that maybe it's going to be firewood next time, or maybe it's going to be rocks. I don't know what it's going to be, or hiking up and down a mountain or something. I don't freaking know, but like it changes everything.
Have to pick the puzzle then.
They're going to have
everything.
to pick the puzzle.
Well, I mean, if you shiver throughout the night, you're burning so much energy, and you are going to be so drained that the physical challenge will be hard, but mental challenges. I slept outside for 5 days and I couldn't do basic math. So that triangle puzzle, me not sleeping, and maybe on day 1 I would take on that challenge, but like not eating and sleeping, nah, give me the water.
I don't think I'd get it with food and sleep. So
one thing that I thought was interesting.
Go
ahead, Dennie. Sorry about that.
Oh, I'm just curious to see how the different twists play out. I know a lot of fans of the show don't like when new twists are introduced to the game because we just like what we're used to, but I am curious to see how they play out in the long run. Who uses them, how it works. I mean, it's going to be devastating if, like, my favorite ends up going home, because of one of these twists. Like, I don't want to see that happen, of course. But I am, like you said, Frank, we didn't really hear too much about it. So I'm looking forward to just finding out more.
Well, and is it like 1 in 6 because there's 6 people in the tribe? And every time, or is it just always 1 in 6? Or is it when you go up there, if one person puts the dice in or their die in and they pull a scroll out, is it now is it 1 in 5 now? Or do they reset it between people? Is it always as Boche says,
nobody will ever know. No one will know.
For an episode that focused a lot on bringing in young fans, bringing in the next younger generation for whatever they're cooking up, whether it's like Survivor Junior or whatever it's going to be, I don't know. For an episode that's trying to educate and bring people in, and for the record, I think that's why they're showing the camera crews, because if you're a young fan watching, you're not going to get as starstruck or shell shocked when you see you get out there all of a sudden like, what? There's 100 people here, because now you know it, right? Like they've seen it. The fans get to watch that, so now they really know what they're getting into, and you're going to get good content from them. But if you're trying to educate these young fans and you want them to apply, then maybe have a show that they can understand, right?
Well, I don't think that this is too difficult. So okay, so we have.
But what's the answer then? What's the answer? Is it 1 in 6 forever? We don't know.
That's the thing, though. Like, do we need to know tonight? Have a little suspense, Robbie. Have a little suspense. Chill.
No.
Chill, baby. Chill.
Tell me.
Relax.
What it is. If listen, we've been watching 40 seasons of this. Right. And we should be able to grasp this stuff in an instant. And if we don't even understand some of this stuff, they weren't putting details in the show, man.
They told us that there was an advantage called the beware something advantage. He didn't even tell us what that was. He just said we have a brand new advantage in the game, and I'm hiding it in this tree. Then that was it.
No,
that was the end of that.
Listen, we can just agree that you're wrong and move on. It's totally fine.
I think what it is that Robbie's coming from. We all have different perspectives, and he's coming from the perspective with his brain. He can retain all that information in 2 hours. I'm still trying to remember names of tribes and all that. That I don't know if I could handle more than the 16.7% information. But what it signifies for me in the game is we've seen seasons where there are players that have no shot. They're going home. This gives everyone hope. You will never be in this game without hope and a chance to survive and stay in the game. So I like that mechanic. I think that it could be played out really cool in a merge scenario. If the 4 of us are in a minority merge situation and we all have our dice still, we all throw that in there. Denny's already found the hidden immunity idol, so she's saved. So one of us, just a couple of us,
are there even still idols? Are there even still idols?
Didn't he ask if somebody wanted to play?
I found one.
And he already found it.
That's it. We're screwed.
Frank, you're talking about giving hope. I'm more excited about the blind sides, because you have to blindside someone. I mean, jumping into the second boot last night, Shani tells her, "You're fine. You're good. You don't need to play it tonight." Yeah. She's like, "Okay," and she didn't, and she wasn't safe. Like the blind sides, I'm so here for all of the blind sides that are going to have to
master it too. Mm-hmm. You're 100% right on that, and I was more thinking of myself, the hope, but yeah, the blind side, it's going to have to be smooth. It's going to have to effective, and it could have played a role in tonight, but we'll jump into that because that's what this show is about. We're going to hone in on the 2 people that got booted. We don't have a lot to talk about because they didn't give us a lot, but we got 2 of them. The first question I got for you guys tonight is, were you guys, but we'll start with Eric. Were you guys blindsided with the Eric vote?
Well, Abraham, you mean?
What did I say?
Same guy.
Yes, Abraham, yes.
Yep.
Names.
Denny, were you blindsided?
Based off the edit, no. I pretty much figured it was going to be him. He was blindsided, though. I think that was the wrong decision. I'm going to say that. I think they're going to regret the decision that they made. I'm curious to know, do you guys think that he would have fared differently if he would have volunteered to do the barrels, to fill the barrels.
Well, that's an interesting point, because I did think of that right off the bat, where you have was it Voce? I can't even pronounce his name. Voce, I'm going to say.
Okay.
Dr. Death. We're
Right?
going to go with Fair Play's version. Dr. Death.
Okay, so you got Dr. Death, and was it Dr. Death and Xander, right? Yeah.
Yes.
So they volunteered to do it, and right away Abraham's like, yeah, if you guys are doing that, then we can be working on the shelter. And I'm thinking, this guy's jacked. Like, Abraham's jacked. Like, you saw him later on in the show with his shirt off, and he's a big ball of muscle. The guy is. And you saw him in the challenge too, where, he was hauling 2 bags at once. One of the few people who tried to do that and made it almost all the way there. He was the guy who was the anchor at the top, pulling the sled up, pulling the rope. Like, the guy's a tank, and yet he's totally smart enough to say, well, I don't want to look like that right now. Yeah, you guys go do that. I'll go make my social connections. But then what does he do? He goes and talks to Evie right away, and Evie's like, what kind of game are you looking to play? Or vice versa. He's like, yeah, no, it's a team game until it's not. And I'm like, whoa,
So
wow.
smooth.
Wow.
So personally,
like smooth as sandpaper.
personally, I don't think that was such a terrible move, and let me tell you why.
Sure.
Tiffany was a very obvious first boot. She has all the makings, all the trappings of a first boot. So to Denny, to answer your question, I think that if he went and did the water, it would have changed things? It only would have changed things because he wouldn't have been there to say this thing out loud to Evie. But I think I liked his strategy of saying, listen, I don't want to lose, but if I do lose, I want someone else's name to be the first one out there. And it's not like he was doing something insane, like saying, let's go for Xander or let's go for Voce, who are doing this other challenge. Tiffany is a very quintessential, she's a normal first boot, first option, especially in a game where you don't get any rice and we're playing at a breakneck speed. Yeah. And we just did a challenge where I had to physically muscle people up. But I also don't think that he expected his tribe to be playing a brains tribe from a brains game like they did in Cagayan, because brains just got rid of all the physical people and said, we'll just lose. It's not that big of a deal. And that's kind of like what I feel like they're resigning to, is that if we go, we go, and it is what it is.
Yeah, I was definitely blindsided, like, looking at the tribes before the show starts. You mentioned, Denny, the edit. Yeah, he wasn't giving us a lot. You could tell he wasn't really clicking with that tribe. The tribe clicked way different than I thought it would. I did not see Dr. Death pairing with Evie. I didn't see them working well together. I didn't see Evie and Xander working. Evie surprised me probably more than almost any one of the castaways, because I thought that she was not going to really... I didn't think she was going to be a character that helped bring her tribe together at all. And I thought Abraham's going to be a stronger dude. I did think that there was a chance that him or Tiffany being older, there's always a chance that you're going to vote out the older people. But the tribe was so dysfunctional from the outside looking in. I personally was blindsided by that decision. And like you said, Kevin, that challenge required some heavy lifting. And what are you going to do now? Because David's not that big and Xander's not that heavy.
And even Evie, they spoke on it when they were out there. They were like, we're not normally you want to keep strength, but Tiffany will be loyal. And Evie, they really did what they had to do to make sure Tiffany was safe. Strength be damned. And
why was Abraham not going to Dr. Death and Xander? Like,
I'm sure he did.
Boys, like,
I'm sure he did.
I wish we could have seen that a little bit.
Yeah, but
that doesn't make for a good edit, Frank. Come on.
Yeah, no, I think we're fooling ourselves a little bit if we think Abraham had any type of social game whatsoever. I mean, like, I don't think he has an ounce of self-awareness at all. I mean, there's a point where he's in the water with Evie and some other folks, and she's like, what's the plan or whatever, and he says, yeah, we got to keep the tribe strong.
Yeah.
And every time he spoke about strength, he meant physical strength. He meant
of course,
physical strength. But what he didn't do was try to play the game at all and say we need the right balance between strength and brains. And right now, I think we have, a little bit more on the mental side, not enough on the strength side. We got to balance this out or something. Show some sort of value to Evie to say, listen, I'm not saying that I think you are too small and are the next to go. I just think right now we're unbalanced. And I think that if we get rid of Tiffany, we'll have an ideal balance with your brain, my muscles, we can move forward. But instead, all he does is talk muscle.
One sales pitch to everyone.
And that's a threat to Evie, right? Like,
yeah.
Is it though? Because Evie very obviously seemed like the smartest one on the tribe, right?
Yeah, but as physical strength, she's probably second to go if you're voting off of.
Correct. They
strength.
are not that strong physically. They're a little more slender, right? But if I am talking to you about, I'm not Bill over here just telling you to your face that I'm going to get rid of you. That's a bonehead move, right? So what you would think is that if Abraham is talking to me, if Abraham came up to me and said, Kev, we need to keep people that are strong. Obviously, I assume that he puts me in the category of the strong because he would not be talking to me about this if he thought about getting rid of me next. So I don't really feel like that Evie thought that was the reason that they would be next on the list.
I want to work with, we got to keep the tall people in this tribe. I'd be like, what the hell do you mean? Like, you got to go next.
But if they're talking to you specifically about it, you'd be like, I meant myself. I'd be like, ooh, tall people.
Listen, I have something to say. Now, he is a veteran of the Air Force. So I'm a veteran as well. When you are in the military, everything is like, that you're only as strong as your weakest member. So I think that's why he focused so much on the strength and keeping the tribe strong. So yeah, could he have thought of other reasons to keep the tribe strong? Yes. But in the military, a lot of it is the physical aspect. So I think he was just going in with that mindset and didn't work out so well for him. But
that might be a good point, Dennie, because he's strictly objective. Like, he's speaking objectively. It's just like, she's the physically weakest person. Let's get rid of her. That's it. There's no lies. Like, he didn't lie to anybody. He didn't lie once. He didn't try to bond with anybody. He didn't have any other, like, every conversation he had was exactly what it looked like. There was no extra motive there, right? And we see Shan going around and just talking to people and stuff and building relationships and emotional bonds with people and like, yeah, I'm with you to the end after they work to cut trees in half and all this stuff. And yet you've got Abraham over here just saying, here's exactly what I'm thinking. But that combined with someone as intelligent as Evie, I was surprised that although Evie could recognize that he's a threat, that she didn't think, well, why don't I keep him around, because he's going to tell me exactly what's up. And if there's ever a day that he's not talking to me, I got to put my dice in that box. And you know what I mean? Like you could use him as a barometer to, for your risk factor, right? How much danger are you in? But instead it was more of like, I see long-term he's coming after me, or even short-term, maybe he's got to go now. But I'm really curious what would have happened. I guess we'll never know, but one of those woulda, coulda, shouldas. If you could use a person like Abraham or Brad, who's just telling people to their face, I think you should go. Well, thanks, Brad.
You should go. I think you or you should go.
Doubling down, right?
50% of the people in this group, I'm okay if they leave. Take it or leave it.
Yes.
You guys want to go talk to the other people? Like, what?
I think the Abraham boot, I think we have to give a lot of credit to Evie, because I think
all the credit.
Evie got the others on board to make that move and to save Tiffany, because I think Tiffany is now indebted to them and owes basically a Wookiee life debt to Evie. So
I love that.
we'll see.
Okay,
We'll see how that goes.
We're gonna jump on to Sarah now. How do you guys feel about Sarah? Were you guys blindsided with this move? Because we had this was a lot more of a dynamic tribal council we had here. It was a live tribal. There was a 3-way vote, I think it was.
Yeah, I believe so.
That's impressive.
Denny, or you had mentioned that the Abraham blindside didn't blindside you because of the edit. Did you not feel like JB was going home all the way due to the edit?
Yeah, and it scared me a little because I didn't want him to, and I was like,
Neither did
no.
I was so concerned. And then, like, I kept watching JB keep giving confessionals in the same position, in the same shirt. And I'm like, they got 1 day of footage. They got 1 day of footage of my guy. That's it.
He's done.
That's all they got.
No, with no rice this season, you only get 1 shirt. That's probably what it is. No,
Yeah,
but
No, he was in the same, like, hunched up position, and he was giving all of the confessionals from the same spot. And so I thought for sure this is a JB death march for tonight, and it's gonna be real sad. And then Bill was like, let's vote out one of these 2 people. And I was like, maybe Bill.
it's Brad.
Maybe Brad. Maybe Brad. Maybe Brad.
I hope he's long
all.
enough in the game for you to learn his name. I hope he sticks along.
Well, you know what? And you know, you're touching on it there, Kevin. Where I think, honestly, and I could be really, really wrong on this, and it'll be even funnier if I am. But I think it was completely the Ricard show, 100%. And I think that Shan, JD, and Ricard had that whole shtick planned to a T, just to make sure that Sarah didn't try her dice. I think because if you look at Sarah's been sad the entire time, right? She's been sad. The initial intro video, she's crying every time she's ever doing a video or a confessional. She's crying. Gets to tribal, she's crying. And the one way that you can say, okay, she is distraught right now, we need to calm her down and save her in the last moment. And she's going to have a second thought about using her shot in the dark. And what you see is Sarah looks back at Shan and is like, you know, should I use it at one point? And Shan's like, no, that's later on. But then she says, I'm so scared at the beginning. Sorry, I'm jumping around. But, you know, Sarah turns around and says, I'm afraid, or I'm scared. And at that point, you see Shan turn to Ricard and say, Brad? Where the fuck did that come from, right? And then Brad's like, yes. Or not Brad, sorry. Ricard's like, yes, Brad. Like immediately, without second thought, yep. And then Ricard gets up and walks over at one point and talks to JD and is like, yeah, vote for Brad. It's all going to be fine. And then once again, only the three of them were doing all of this, right? Jeannie sat still, Brad sat still, because they're like, what the fuck's happening? and JD gets up at one point and is talking to who? Shan. Still just the three of them. Sarah finally stands up and says, hey, like, what's going on? And then she pauses. They look at her like, oh shit, what do we say? And it's, well, sorry, do you guys need a minute? And they're like, yeah. And Sarah sits back down. And then they just kind of whisper like, you know, what are we doing? And then they sit down. And I feel like the whole thing was Ricard pulling the puppet strings, or Shan, one of the two. I can see Shan doing it. But yeah. if that's the case, you are outing yourself as being dangerous way too soon in this game, man. Like,
Robbie has just convinced himself of the longest con I've ever heard of.
I am telling you,
he's selling it to me.
He's selling you. It. Oh my gosh, that was the most complex gameplay in a 2-day span for a vote that's pretty simple. It's a very simple vote. The amount of gymnastics you just went through to get there is crazy, Robbie.
Yes,
I think this was a Ricard.
I think it's true, man. I think you got
this was
perfect
pretty
storm.
cut and dry.
No, man.
I think it was pretty cut and dry. I think that it was going to be Sarah. I think that Ricard wants to work with Sarah. But he knows that Sarah's on the bottom, and I'm not that close to her. It's been 2 days. So it's not that big of a deal. Yep. I think Ricard's like, well, Brad said two names in front of everyone else. So Sarah changes it, obviously, because she's like, well, why don't we just vote out the person that said my name? I know JD is not coming for me because he has not tried to come for me. But Brad very obviously, to my face, said it should be me because I messed up leaving a puzzle piece in a bag.
Yep.
Which is insane. But that was his reasoning.
Yep.
I think she then turns to Ricard, and Ricard's like, give me a name, because if you want to change it, just give me a name. And then she says, Brad. Brad's the easy name, the one that's very obviously coming for her. So then Ricard gets up and goes to JD and says, let's just do Brad. Like, it's been 2 days. You're not that close to people.
Listen, I think this is...
Wait, let me finish.
Go ahead.
JD.
You're just digging your
JD
hole, man. We're going to see it.
JD gets up, goes to Shan, because Shan has done a fantastic job placing herself as the linchpin of the tribe. Everyone is coming to her. And so he's like, I want to be with you. Let's be together. She says, whatever keeps us two safe. He's like, I don't really want to do Brad. And she's like, well, if that's the vote, let's do that, unless you want to stick to the old plan. You mentioned Jeannie and Brad not getting up. It wasn't because they were like, oh man, such great gameplay around me. It was because they are both not really understanding what's going on in this game. Very obviously, by Brad saying to Shan and to her face, why not one of you two go home? So
I think
want to backtrack a little bit.
Go ahead, Denny. Sorry, I'm about to explode over here.
Yeah, that's why I'm just going to interrupt you fools. All right, because we're highlighting her, right? And I just want to say, like, we saw her try to make fire right off the bat, which made me feel proud of her. She's, you know, at the time she was on the show, she was only 24 years old, and she is experiencing the loss of her grandmother. I knew she was going to be emotional being on the show, and I just wish she would have channeled that emotion to build like some fire within her to really not be so emotional and just be game focused. Yeah. And then you hear her say like she didn't want to do the puzzle. And I feel like when you don't trust your gut, that's when things kind of go not as you're planning. So I feel like if she would have just listened to her gut, not put herself in the puzzle, maybe she would have lasted. Because I thought coming into this game that she would fly under the radar for a while.
Mm.
You know?
They might have won had she not done the puzzle. I think that
I can't put that on her, man.
Well, I think
left in the bag.
I don't think the piece being left in the bag is what caused them to fail. You saw, I think.
No, man, Kevin, I agree with Kevin. I'm actually agreeing with Kevin on this one.
So,
as hard as that is to believe.
Let me finish my statement before you agree with him, and I'm sure I'll win Denny over with this one. But when the Blue Tribe was coming back from behind, Jeff Probst was making sure those other tribes knew it. And when he was narrating that event and them coming back, you could see them. You could see the nerves change, and they started shaking and panicking. And then, I don't have the puzzle piece. And then they're trying to put things up clearly upside down on the wrong side. And it's like, I think if maybe you had Ricard and Chantel in there, maybe they're calmer, more composed. They've got a little more life experience under their belt. And I think Ricard's a super genius. So.
Ricard, once again, though, watching that back, I heard Ricard, and I could be wrong on this, but I'm fairly confident, if I remember this correctly, that when they were going, at one point Sarah said, I think we're missing a piece. We're missing a piece. And they were ahead. And if you look at the type of puzzle it is, you could put 98% of that puzzle together with the missing piece in a bag somewhere, right? But Ricard says, stop what you're doing until you find the piece. He yells it out.
I didn't catch that.
I'm fairly certain that I heard him yell, stop, and keep looking for that piece. And that totally fucks them, because now like they could be
your rhythm.
Like if he would have said to them, fuck the piece, keep going, right? They would have got to the end, and maybe they had one or two pieces left where the gap was, and then they would have been like, now let's find this piece, and fucking boom, 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 done. but the stress of like, oh my God, we're pausing the challenge to go back and find out where we screwed up, and oh God, I don't want to let everybody down, and then I found it, and oh my God, what do I do? And we fail, and it's all my fault, and then tears, waterworks again.
I can't wait till we go back, and they do like we go back after they come back from tribal, and you get Ricard saying, "Now let me tell you how I was setting Sarah up from day one."
Yeah, exactly.
Started with making other people do water, and then
This is it, man. But I think what we're seeing here, and I hope to God it happens. I think we're seeing the perfect storm of Shan and Ricard both being ridiculously good at picking up on people, reading people, and I hope that they work together, because very rarely do we see two people as socially intelligent as they are and strategic. You see Ricard sitting on the log when he's hearing JD talk about, oh, here's what I did, and his he couldn't hide it though. Like, it's the one thing Ricard can't do is hide his skepticism. Maybe it's in the edit, right? Maybe they're just like editing it in really well, but like you see in his eyes, he's like, fuck you, man, I don't believe a word you are saying, but he doesn't say it. And then Shan, same deal, man. And if they've found a way, and we're just not seeing it yet because one episode, if they found a way to work together, oh my God, like this is, I hope it's true, man. I hope it's true.
Are we sure we're not talking about Ricard next week on the show? I'm not positive that Ricard.
No, man.
Is not being okay, think about this. About this. Based on how we have Robbie's narrative of how this episode went, even though that's not what any of us saw.
The correct narrative.
The correct narrative. But what we saw was that JD is with Shan, and they're with Bill.
Brad.
Killing me.
They're with Brad. They're like, JD is with Brad for real. Like, that's a connection. Shan is with JD. Are we sure it's not like a 3-2 vote?
I think it could be a 3-2.
Robbie, hold on. Denny, what are your thoughts over here?
Hey, I thought we were talking about the two boots.
Yeah, I know, man, but this is what I'm saying.
We are getting. I mean,
excited.
it's hard. It's super hard not to get wrapped up in the Ricard and Pastor Chantel mode. And I have an unpopular opinion too. People don't agree with me, but I think the two of them will work together, and I think she will hide behind his villainous. He'll go out, and then she's gonna win. That's my prediction. But back to Sarah, I was super blindsided because looking at her, if I'm on that tribe, I'm not super intimidated by her strategy side, her social side. She looks like an asset in the challenges. She messed up the puzzle, but to me, I'm voting out Jeannie. That's where I would think that the vote would go. But it blew my mind when it went JD. I get JD because anybody leaves on day 1, day 2, day 3, day 4. Anybody leaves, they're going to come back and you're going to be like, what's up with this person? And they're paying attention to details in their story about their hair flowing in the wind, but then when you get to the end where it's got important information, we're not really getting that. So I was shocked that it was JD or Sarah were even on the table. I thought the easy decision is Jeannie and you move on.
Yeah, with Sarah and JD being the targets, I wondered why those two didn't come together and try to pull something off together, because that's what I would have done in that instance. I get like, well, his name's being thrown out there, I'm just going to vote him. She doesn't end up voting him anyway. She votes Brad, aka Bill. So it's like, okay, if you're not going to vote for JD anyway, why not try to pull him in and work something out? That's where my mind went. I don't know why she didn't possibly think about that. I don't know. I would have wanted to work with her because I feel like she would have been loyal, and she wouldn't, like you said, she's not a huge threat. I don't think she had a chance to get to the end and win.
I would go to the end with any 24-year-old because in a final tribal, come on now.
I don't know that they want to work together because Brad tells JD that Sarah said his name.
Yeah. Brad, I think, was messing everything up for this tribe. I think it would have been a very straightforward vote. I think Brad messed everything up, and I think Brad messing things up I think what we saw, I want to believe Robbie's theory, but I think it was first tribal jitters. These guys have never been here before. Before the first vote, you don't want to really open up and talk a lot of strategy. You're trying to build relationships and stuff, so no one really wants to turn it up to 10 on strategy talk, so you're there, and then a live tribal happens on your first tribal ever. Of course we're going to see rogue votes going Ricard and Brad. I didn't think we'd see something like that. I love that we did. Hopefully Ricard and Brad are not here next week. But back to our characters, because it's been a long night and I don't want this to run 2 hours long. We'll jump back to Abraham. So if Abraham had made it deeper into the game, do you think Abraham would have emerged as either a social butterfly? Do you think they would have been a strategic mastermind? Are they going to be a comp beast? How do you think Abraham's story would have played out as far as those facets of the game?
I definitely
That's
think
how I think too.
of those, I think it's his physicalness, the challenges that he would excel. So I think, my feeling is they should have kept him around for a while so they can win some challenges, not have to worry about possibly going to tribal, even though you definitely have some stronger people in the other tribes. But yeah, of those three, because I don't think he seemed very social from what we saw. And the strategy, I didn't really see that from him either. So of the three, I would say the physicalness.
Let's add a fourth on there for the four fans. Let's do
think
character as well. Let's add character in there, because we have people like Philip Shepard, who wasn't a social butterfly, wasn't a master strategist. Shambo, yeah, we have characters that make Survivor great as well. So let's add that fourth in there. Do you think he might have been a character instead of comp beast? Or
no, I think he would have been. I would have think more physical. I think I read a lot of Big Tom vibes from him, loyalty and just physicality, and that's what he was looking to do. And it was almost a little bit of a anyone but me strategy, which is why he threw Tiffany's name out there. But it was more. I think he would have more felt like he just needed to stay on the physical side, win challenges. If you think about it, for some people, Survivor's a very simple gameplay. It's like, let's go out there, win challenges, let's go eat food, let's go back out, win more challenges, let's eat more food. That's kind of simple. And I was getting that vibe from him, from Abraham, from what we were seeing. Like, that was kind of it. He just wanted to win, just do well in challenges and he was going around camp, doing stuff around camp. I think that was just it. I think I'm with Dennie. Physicality.
Yeah, I honestly, I think we're gonna go 3 for 3 on this. I don't think there's any doubt on that. And honestly, what the proof is in the pudding. Like when you look back at any other opportunity he had to have a social game or to have any type of strategy or lying, and what really stood out to me was when they came back after losing the challenge, the immunity challenge, and Evie just broke down, apologizing to everybody, and 5 of them formed kind of like a semicircle of empathy. They were all pretty much like hands on their shoulders and hugging each other and stuff. And Abraham was about 5 or 10 feet away from the rest of the group, and then awkwardly looked down and just turned away and picked up like a fishing spear, not a fishing spear, but like a stick or whatever it was, and was just kind of like turned his back to the group. And I don't know if he's just trying to hide that his empathetic side or if he doesn't know how to fake it, but I felt like, man, you cannot have a group of people literally crying and then literally turn your back to them and kind of just walk away. And when that happened, I was like, he better come up with some crazy schemes or else the social game is going to eat him alive. And I think unfortunately that's what happened, you know.
That could be the military background too, though.
Yeah.
Yeah, I definitely agree with you guys. I don't think we would have got a whole lot. There's a small chance that he's the type of person that he warms up to you and then you see more of that character come out. We could have seen that, but sadly we didn't, and I don't think we will see him in the future. I think he's one of the one and done. And plus, there's rumors that we won't see return players. I don't believe it, but I don't think
Like
if
ever?
we do see. That's what a rumor out there is. My personal take is they might. I think they are going to pull way back, and I think it's the right approach. I think every 5 and 10.
I think
That's
that makes
my
sense.
pitch.
I'd be happy with every 10, honestly. I love the newbie seasons. I think this is where we get the gems. I think, like I said, I think Ricard and Shan are going to be, potentially some of the best players we've seen in a long time. I know it's only been one episode, but it's very rare that you see players come in that seemed fully formed. Like, they're survivor players, and they're not scared. They're not, I think the back on Sarah, I think, comparing Sarah to them, Sarah's story or her whatever, like, summary of what her show was is half measures. It's all half measures. When she's at the water well at one point with Shan and Ricard, she says, yeah, I trust you guys. Well, that's your time to go one step further. Don't just say, yeah, I trust you guys. What do you think we should do? And then they kind of hum and haw and say JD, and then they kind of break apart or whatever. Like, that's where you say, I trust you guys. Here's what, like, I want to go to the end with you, whatever. Even if you're not 100% sure, go all in. If you trust them, tell them you trust them for, like, the long term, through merge, through swaps, through whatever. Like, I'll use this, I'll use that. I'll let you hold on to my die as a proof of, trust or whatever. Kind of like Sarah did to Sari with her steal a vote. You know what I mean? Like, there's a whole different dynamic to this game with having those die in there. Other people can't use them, but you could hold them on as a collateral, or you could have it in your possession. We've seen that before, with advantages that you couldn't transfer, but you could hold on to. And then later on, you see a tribal council. She tries to throw some shade at JD, but then she ends her argument with, I'm not saying I don't trust him. I'm just saying we have to think about it. Well, you either go for the jugular or just don't say anything. Like, you know what I mean?
We're
I feel
3
like
You're gonna
days
shoot
in, Robbie.
to kill.
half measures, man.
We're
It's half
3
measures.
days
Though.
in, though.
And that's why she
And
only
so-
survived 3 days.
3 days. So, like, the tough part is, like, I hear you, like you mentioned Sari and Lucina, and how she had her hold that was, they had known each other for quite a few days at that point.
Yeah.
3 days in, I felt like, I do feel like Sarah told Ricard and Shan that she trusted them, and then she even gave them JB's name. She put out JB's name and said how she felt uncomfortable by him
Yeah.
because he was, like, a lot.
I
Really
don't
quickly.
think I don't think in that short of time you can get trust with someone, but you can definitely in that amount of time, in that situation, living your dream, starving, sleeping outside, you're going to form some kind of emotional bond that I do think you could play on that a lot more than she did. Yeah, and to me, I don't know why. If you're nervous and crying at tribal, maybe it's time to roll the die.
Yeah.
Like, really.
Yeah.
But then that's where Shan comes into play, though, when she says, should I do it? And she's like, you're safe. And there's only 6 of us, and if Ricard's voting with me, and Shan and JB just had a conversation, and the name Brad's out there, and who I just told I trust says I'm okay, I'm a believer.
Yeah. It's almost like
Because
those 3 did it on purpose.
I don't get it. Before tribal, Shan says, if the person that I want out goes home, I'll keep control on my tribe. How? We're talking about someone who definitely doesn't have control. Like, I don't understand. I want to know who she was actually talking about, because I would think it would be Ricard. If she wants to take out someone so she has full control of the tribe, I would think that person is Ricard. So
Unless they're like this.
I'm telling you, man. I think
Why
we are
Sarah?
completely underestimating, because Sarah's close to Ricard, and if you get rid of Sarah, who does Ricard have? Only Shan, right? And I'm telling you, if these people sat in sequester due to COVID as long as they did, then they watched a ton of seasons. They knew what to do, and 24 hours after watching seasons, they rolled onto the island and did it. I don't think that's far-fetched, man. I think we'll see it.
I'm so excited to find the outcome of that. But on to Sarah. had she made it farther in the game, Robbie, do you think she would have been a social butterfly, a strategic threat, a comp beast, or a character?
Based on what I saw going into the season, I had Sarah as my winner pick, and I'm not ashamed at all of saying it. She went home first episode, boo-hoo to me. I get it, but I did not anticipate the overwhelmed kind of emotional wreck, unfortunately that she became on the island, and I doubt she anticipated that either. But when you saw her speaking in all of her pressers in the media, whatever you want to call it, the promos coming in, I thought this is somebody who's going to make it really far in the game. And with the new dynamics, the amount of energy you're going to need, I think it benefits the younger players because it's a shorter season. You need more stamina, and you're doing challenges every day or every second day. Like, you're going to be burnt out. And I thought she was going to have the social game to pull her through and the challenge ability to win when the merge came. I thought she was going to do great. And I just think that she became overwhelmed. And you see in her eviction, whatever you want to call it, like after her torch got snuffed, that she looked relieved when she was doing her exit. Like, you saw Abraham being like, man, they got me. I was blindsided, all that stuff. But you see Sarah, and she's almost not even crying anymore. She's just like, I taught myself, I learned, and she's almost breathing normally again. It's like a weight was off. Like, she felt relieved that it was
How many
over.
hours were they on the island when they got voted out? What do you think?
I'm 48 maybe.
48,
I don't know.
Maybe
like,
a little over that, a little under. Yeah, I mean, she might have just been ready for a shower and not an ice cream.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't think
I'm gonna hurry
so.
up.
There's no way you want to go on Survivor that badly, and you're there for 48 hours, and you're relieved to go home.
So, I'm not saying relieved to go home, but when you can be upset that you're out of the game and excited to be clean and eat. That both can, trust me, both can coexist 100%. Like, I didn't want to go out a real foot. That was a lot. I wanted to win. I wanted to suffer. But the minute the game was over, I wanted to shower and sit down on a chair. Chairs, man. The most overrated thing in the world. But so my opinion personally, I wasn't getting strategic, or I thought maybe light social. I thought she'd have a social game. I didn't think she'd be a super social threat. I did think that she would be someone later in the game that would be a physical threat in challenges. She wanted to be Kim. I don't think she would have had everything that made up Kim, but I do think she would have been a challenge threat in the later game. She has the same kind of build as she reminded me a little bit of like Brooke from Australian Survivor. She just had that small build, looked super athletic, looked like she could hang in there and wanted to win challenges. And I think she was a track star or something like that. Wasn't that in her bio? Can't really remember.
Swimmer or something, I don't think.
Was she on your fantasy team, Robbie?
Yeah. Can we just move on?
Yeah. That's a question.
Did you have
I do want to hit
Abraham
on
too?
that.
No.
Okay.
No. I don't. No.
So before we move on, I did want to ask you guys, this is my first year doing, like, betting money on Survivor. I think it's fantastic, one. But two, I'm questioning, is that altering my judgment? Because I have a ton of money invested in Brad, am I hyping him up too much? Is that why I like Ricard? Is that
Yes.
Sean? Like,
Yes, to both.
okay.
To all those things. Yes.
So hopefully I put my money where my mouth is, otherwise I'm gonna have a lot of explaining to do.
I mean, I
But
just watched Brad tell two people to their faces that he wanted either one of them to go. I just saw
think
that.
he comes back. I think he bounces back though, because I think Sean is going to be able to be like, "Hey, Brad, you don't know what you're doing. Me and you click. You like me. Let me preach to you this Sunday. This is what you need to do in Survivor." And I think he might follow her direction. I think that's his only saving grace, is doing what
Possibly.
she says.
That's definitely possible.
Back to Sarah. What do you think, Kevin?
I think I thought she would be a social threat more so than anything else. Watching the episode, I thought she had like a little bit of strategic chops, but she found herself in the crosshairs a little sooner than she thought she would be. And I think she thought that JD was going to be the easy vote, right? That was going to be simple. We don't believe what he's saying. We're all on board. And like if she's talking to Ricard, it's basically an echo chamber, right? Ricard is telling her the things that she's thinking. They're just coming right back to her. So she's like, yeah, everyone thinks this. So I think I saw a little strategic chops coming, but I thought mainly she was just going to be a social threat.
Dennie?
Yeah, I thought that she would be a social butterfly, but not so in your face in the beginning. Like I said, I thought she was going to fly under the radar for a while. I didn't have her as my winner pick like Robbie did, but I did think she was going to make like Final Four just because I thought people weren't going to look at her as a threat and kind of like just take her to the end. But I thought her social game would pick up at the end more like a Natalie White type.
We're going there. We're going there.
Is that a compliment?
It's kind of, I mean,
Hey, a winner's a winner, okay?
yeah.
Sure.
Hey, look at the bank account.
I think we're agreeing. I think we're agreeing again, Kevin.
So, instead of splitting them up, we'll just go. Did either one of them have a moment in this game where you thought they excelled? I think we can just go with Sarah on this question.
No, legitimately, I feel like Abraham throwing out Tiffany early was a good move normally. I think that was because he got ahead of it early. That Tiffany is not really helping out. She's not really doing much. If we go early, maybe we should think about her. And I think it would have been more effective if Xander and Voce are there on that tribe with them when he says it the first time instead of Evie. Because if the two of them are there, they might have co-signed on it and they could have got that ball rolling. Instead, it says the Evie, which got the counter ball rolling early. But I thought that was a good move to be like, hey, this person, I'm noticing how this person is not helping out far too much. And Tiffany's a usual first boot. Very simple, very easy, especially on a tribe of 6. That's something that we may want to look at. So I thought that was a good strategic move. It didn't work out, but I thought that was smart to get in there early.
Yeah, that's fair, and I think something that we saw was exactly that. I mean, he's throwing the names out. I just feel like if he just would have said to the guys, listen, if somehow one of us goes home, because he's not going to think himself as a target, right? He felt pretty safe. He said if one of us goes home, then the other two are screwed. If it's, you know what I mean? Like if that's the way that the other half of the tribe goes, then the other two are screwed. And that might have just been a warning shot. That's almost a preemptive thing for any game that you play, is almost just to throw those out there as a kind of a catch-all, just in case, like all the groups that you fit in, all the little demographic groups that you fit in, just throw out like, hey, if one of us goes, then the rest are screwed, and then hopefully one of those nets catches you. But yeah, I'm being pretty hard on him, but I don't know. I feel like maybe he's one of those guys, like you said, just being straight up like that and honest to people and strategic by openness. I guess if that's a weird strategy, but maybe that should be valuable to people, right? Maybe he could have went further, but I didn't think that he had. I think Sarah would have went further than Abraham would have.
Yeah, in his bio, one of his adjectives he used to describe himself was confidence. He said he's confident. So I think at Tribal he was just feeling that confidence and didn't even catch an inkling that it was him. So I think that came to bite him. And he also doesn't like people who butter people up to like win favor. He said that in his bio as well. And you see like Tiffany kind of feeding off. I gotta say this, I feel like Jeff Probst totally threw Abraham under the bus at this Tribal, and I was like, what the hell? I would be pissed, and I would have barked right back at Jeff if I had been Abraham. But he says, oh, Abraham sounds like, a guy who's played this game before.
Yeah.
He's answering questions without really answering them. And Tiffany feeds off of that. And
immediately.
In Tribal, in Tribal, she also is buttering up her tribe, saying, they're very cohesive and they're learning to love one another. And that's not the type of person that Abraham is. He doesn't like when people butter people up. So I feel like that didn't help him out either.
Yeah, there was even a warning sign there right after that when Liana said, once again, Jeff kind of fed a perfect question out as he does, and it was about I think it was about the shot in the dark dice or something, and she says, you know what, yeah, something could happen, and all of a sudden the top dog on the majority alliance is gone, and then everybody else has a chance to start over. And it was really subtle, but for somebody who's like, that's the first thing that she thought of right there, was the top dog could all of a sudden be gone home without knowing about it. Like, wait a minute, why am I even on your list? You know what I mean? Like, whoa, back up a little bit. But, you know, it was so subtle, I think, that maybe just nobody picked up on it. But
I didn't pick up on it, and I was watching from my couch.
Yeah, I thought his game shined in the challenge that was physical. I think he performed for his team. I just don't. I don't think his. I don't really know if the just being a straight shooter was strategy. I think that might have just been
who he
him,
is,
and he's watched Survivor and he's copying and pasting. He's seen that before, so let's go with that. He's seen someone play. That's how he's gonna play. He's doing it. Yeah. And I don't think in this era, I just don't think it's. I don't think you're going to be able to play like that in this new game. I might be proven wrong, but just like you said,
if Brad makes it all the way to the end, then we're wrong. But
he just needs to make it to merge. He just needs to make it to merge. That's all I'm asking. And I can take Kylie and Trisha's money with a smile on my face. What about so we'll do Sarah. I was gonna do areas that they shined and then opportunities they had in the game that they missed out on. But let's do where Sarah possibly shined in this game that we got to see in the limited time.
I feel like she made good connections, man. I think Shannon and Ricard were great connections for her. They obviously voted against her in the end because it was her time was just up. But like she seemed to be vibing with them early, and until the ball started rolling a certain way, with Brad just saying to her face, "How about her?" I think that she had made good connections, and she was not seeming like someone that was floundering out there, unlike Abraham, like we just talked about.
Do you feel that? Do you think she handled the situation? If somebody comes up in front of you and is like, "I think we might have to send you home, Dennie," are you gonna handle it like she did? Or are you gonna grab and be like, "What? I want to work with you. What are you doing? Like, this is so simple. What the fuck? We're here. They're there. They're not here." Like, I didn't think she fought hard enough for me. That was all. Yeah. That was her opportunity. I guess we're on her shining moment. My bad. Sorry.
Yeah.
Now you bringing the daggers back out
because you asked me how I would feel, so now I have to answer. But no, in that instance, I would have went to everyone else and said, "Look, this guy is so unpredictable. It's got to be him. Like he will wreck anyone's game. I feel like so. I would have targeted him if I were her. Her shining moment. I already brought this up, but I just love that she tried to make fire immediately because I feel like that's kind of an intimidating spot to put yourself in. Most people don't want to, even if they do know how to make fire, they don't want to show that they can. But I just love that she went for it. And then I do like, even though I said, why didn't her and JD think to work together? I do like at Tribal when she kind of called JD out and said, "Can we really trust him? You know, how do we know that he doesn't have an advantage?" But she didn't work with that enough. Like she mentioned it and then just stopped. But I do think she had some fight in her, just not enough.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I think Jeff kind of touches on this a lot when we see newbie seasons like this, where I think Sarah knew everything to do. I think she knew what to do. And I think she would go to pull the trigger on these things and then stop halfway because all of a sudden it was getting real, right? And she did a lot of really subtle things that just make people think of you as being somebody you want to work with. But then Shan would do Shan and Sarah had a lot of really parallel, even at the very first challenge, the marooning, They get on the boat. They got to paddle. Well, who are the front two people, right? You have Shan and Sarah there. But when so like you're in front of everybody paddling. Everybody's looking at you, approaching the flint. Epic moment. But who stands up and pushes the other one out of the way so she can have the shining moment of grabbing the flint and winning it for her team and being that provider? Shan. And Sarah kind of like takes the back seat. Little things like that, man. Like you're all of a sudden you're noticed, right? It's minor. And then you get to the camp and you say, I think she said something like, we're going to have fire. Like, I'm not worried or something like that. Like, we're definitely getting fire today. I'm not worried. And she's trying to do it, but she only does it maybe for a couple minutes, it looks like. And then says, does anybody else want to try? And hands it off. But it's like all those opportunities where it's like, if you would have been the one to be like, yes, we win. Everybody's cheering for you, grabbing you like, yeah, like big celebration. I got the flint. And then I got the fire going because I even got the flint. Then I went back and used the flint, made a fire for everybody. But, you know, she had a lot of those moments that almost happened. And when Brad was there and was like, it's one of you two, you have an opportunity to go to Brad and be like, I hear what you're saying, but I want to work with you. And who did that? Shan did that again. Shan's the one that followed Brad to the water well and made an alliance right there. Boom. Right? And all those moments were really close. But if I had to pick one that I liked as the most shining moment, ironically, I would say saying you don't want to do the puzzle and then doing as well as she did until being told to stop working on the puzzle and look for the missing piece. Like, she was dominating. She was dominating that puzzle. Her and, once again, Shan. But her and Shan were doing really well. And I feel like she could have capitalized a little bit more on that and said, listen, look at how well I displayed my ability here. Yeah, we lost a piece, and that's why we screwed up. Not because I couldn't do the puzzle. We were so far ahead, we were going to win by a mile. It's just that little fluke. And I said, those flukes aren't going to happen again. You know what I mean? Like, that's what she could have said. Next time, we'll just win it. You know, we'll be more careful. But instead, it was just, I'm sorry, I didn't see it. And I trust everybody. But I don't know. I feel like she was right there every time, but just half a step behind.
You guys got any shining moments for Sarah?
I thought she made good connections. She tried to make some good connections early. I think that she is tough because she was doing the things necessary. Like I said, she was talking to her echo chamber in regard. I don't know who was talking to Jeannie. I don't really know. I don't remember seeing her too often on the show. Because I want to say, like, she maybe talked to Jeannie and, like, got her on board. Because Jeannie didn't vote for her. So maybe, I don't really know there, though. Because we didn't see Jeannie too much on the show. We heard about her and her wife, but that was kind of it. But I think Sarah's... And, I mean, JD wanted to work with her. He liked her. He wanted to work with her until he heard that his name was out there. Yeah. And so I think she made good connections. I thought she was good socially. I thought that was the thing. The only reason she went home was because a puzzle piece got stuck in a bag, and Brad thought that was a good enough reason to send someone home.
Yeah, I think you're right, but I think Robbie touched on it, is that Sean was in that same situation. Sean was just better than her. She was just up against somebody in a weight class.
So this is where I disagree. Shan was connected to JD. Shan was already connected to JD. Shan didn't throw out JD's name. So Brad, who was already connected, because JD and Brad talk early in the episode, I think, and Brad tells JD that your name is coming out of Sarah's mouth, and Shan is connected to JD. Like, they talk right there at the tribal, and she's like, I want to work with you. Then he's like, well, what's the name then? I think they were connected. I think Brad was legitimately fine with either Sarah or Shan. And then Shan is connected to JD, so then it has to be Sarah. Based on that
when
logic.
That happened and Brad's like, it's one of the two of them, I think Shan turned the game up, hustled, made sure Brad did not want to go for her, saved herself. And I think also, with Ricard getting, I think where Sarah shined was getting in good with Ricard, because you could tell that he wanted to work with her. But I think her opportunity to do better was make Ricard want to work with her more than our Pastor Sean. That's my take. I think had Sean not been there, Sarah might have been able to control more, pull Ricard in, pull Jeannie in. Then, and she could have got JD over Brad, I think. Then maybe Brad goes home. That's just
I don't know
my
about
hot take,
Jeannie.
but
I don't know about Jeannie. I don't know what you were seeing with the Jeannie thing. I don't know.
With her being able to pull her in, I don't think Jeannie was being told what to do. I
don't know where Jeannie's at all. No, Jeannie told Jeannie turned to JD and said, "I'm good. I'm locked in with what we talked about." Brad said the same thing, and so someone talked to her and told her something, but I don't know. We didn't see it on the episode, so I don't really know. But like. when she turned to JD and said, "I'm good," I was like, "Oh, someone told her what's going on." Oh, snaps!
I think somebody, maybe JD or maybe Brad, I think somebody just told her to vote for Ricard, just in case Sarah used the token or used the dice. It would be a tie.
Kylie brought that up.
Right, it'd be a 1-1 tie, and then they could revote and send somebody else home. But I don't think it would have been what they thought. But. Anyways, we'll never know. Maybe we'll know next. Maybe they'll kind of give us the details
when we get the Ricard flashback of how he set up Sarah all along. It was Ricard all along.
Yeah, or Shan playing Ricard, one or the other. But I hope they work together.
Or they're playing in sync together. I think.
Yeah.
Oh, dynamic duo right there.
Yes.
See, that's what you want. I want one of them gone.
Which one though, Dennie?
Don't really care. I just don't want them to work together. I want one of them to blindside the other, like, pretty soon.
I think if they work together, that will probably happen at like 7. 6 or 7. Kind of bring them as far as you can, but then not too close to the end because who knows what kind of run you'll go on. But I don't know. I think they could run the table. They
kind of leads us into the last question I have because I'm going on over 3 hours of recording right now. Is who do we think we're gonna have on the show next week? Who are we gonna be talking about?
Oh my God.
Ricard. Who we got, Denny?
Jeannie?
Jeannie.
I think it'll be Ricard and Tiffany. I think
Green Tribe.
I think we're gonna get 2 people for a little while. I think we're gonna get 2 people for a little while because it didn't look like that idol split apart. It looked like it was one idol. I think we're gonna get Ricard and Tiffany.
Yeah, Tiffany. I forgot about her. See, Tiffany. Yeah, Tiffany. I think her days are numbered.
What do you think, Robbie?
That's tough. I think Yellow Tribe is gonna miss the muscle. I don't think they realized how much weight literally he was pulling. Abraham was. I think they're definitely gonna be one of the 2 teams. If it stays the way it is and 2 go, I definitely see that tribe going back. And if at that point they're missing muscle, then whoever's the weakest at that point might actually go. You know what I mean? If that's what they're looking for, maybe Liana, or it's not going to be Voce or Xander. They just put them in the water hauling challenge. So obviously they trust their power. But and Jeannie's a wild card, man. I don't know if she's just getting a friendly edit right now. But I don't see a lot of connections there. So if I had to pick a second name, I'd say Jeannie. But I think we could be getting tricked with the edit. But
because I don't think we get anyone from the Blue Tribe personally. Because if you get to sit somebody out, you sit out Heather, and then you.
Oh my God!
It's still physical. You just roll now.
Oh, they're stacked. Yeah. They're stacked.
Yeah. So
Denny, who you think is coming?
Oh, I already said.
Yeah, I think I'm
Frank's
the only
gotta
one. Yeah, I want Blue to go, but I think you're right. With them being able to sit out whoever they want, that is, any direction the challenge goes, they're going to be really, really well set up. I think that Yellow, will be based off of who performs the worst in the challenge, because I think you're right. They're going to panic. Oh my God, what have we done? Now we have to lift these boulders across the beach. We're fucked. We got to correct. And then I think on the green, I definitely think it'll be Jeannie. I think that you're going to see Brad, Chantel, and Ricard will be a little trio. And I think Chantel's going to pull in JD, and then old Jeannie's going to go home. And they're going to easily blindside her.
I just want to throw out the fact that we just based all of our picks on being able to choose who you sit out. With this season, we don't even know if they can do that. Like, do they have to roll a dice? Do they got to spin a wheel? Do they got to say, okay, we can choose, but if we get this wrong, we lose our what, left leg? Like, I don't know.
Robbie, is that more fun though? Jeff said this season's all about fun. Is that more fun?
I don't know. It's all about monsters, and that
for the yellow tribe, that's fun. If Danny gets pulled out of the challenge because of a wheel, it's fun for 2 tribes.
But they got Deshaun and Nasir still, and both of those people are. And you know the everybody on the tribe is in shape pretty much except for maybe Heather, but even then maybe I'm reading a book by its cover a bit here. Maybe I'm wrong.
Yeah,
right?
For an older lady, she definitely looks like she can hold her own. I mean, she's still older.
If that tribe were to lose and have to send someone home, I would think it would be Nasir, just based off the last episode and him like throwing out Danny's name and.
Yeah, and you saw that in the scenes from next episode. And did they not do next time on Survivor? Have they not been doing that? Am I just? It's been so long.
I mean, it was they did it, but it was much more cinematic. We got a scene of Brad like army crawling. We got some other things happening. Yeah, like it was much more cinematic, but it was the same thing.
And then we did have them talking about we're gonna have Nasir teach us everything he knows about living out here in the woods, and then we're going to cut his throat. So I'm looking forward to it. I'm so glad you guys are on the team now. This was a lot of fun. This is why I personally do this, because I love getting on here and talking with my friends about the show I love so much. But be sure to like and subscribe. Do you guys have anything you want to give a shout out to? You got any games coming up? We do have game night coming tomorrow night if you guys want to join that.
Yes. Sorry, I am excited for game night. I cannot overstate how much fun we have playing the games that we do. So
it's so much fun. We play Mafia and murder each other over and over and over. We play Quiplash. It's a lot of fun. Also, we're going to be doing, like I said, we'll be doing this every Thursday, every Wednesday, following 30 minutes after the episode. Me, Stan, and Kylie will be going live. We should have past survivors and maybe some guests that were on the circle will be joining us to give their hot takes. It should be fun. The schedule is really busy. We just started our fantasy draft for Fantasy Survivor. We have the Big Brother challenge going on. So much happening. Be sure to like and subscribe. See you guys next week.